organize, and you do though need empowering as well, I believe, and that goes into the whole training piece as well. At the moment, show of hands, how much training how many of you get training from your in-country staff, from your colleagues that you represent? I can't believe that nobody gets any training. Okay. How often do you get the training? Like, do you get it once a year? Anyone that gets trained more than once a year that represents universities? Regular training? Okay, this is not many of you. And that's kind of what I also found out from the interviews I undertook, that the training is very ad hoc and inconsistent. Okay, so we're going to try and share some practical tips. What I also want to acknowledge is the good work that is being done by those organisations that recruit in-country reps for universities, some of whom are represented today. So whether that be GROC, SANAMS4, One Step, and then there's new emerging entrants such as Rome, who provide a slightly different pick and mix service, allowing universities more flexibility for when they're recruiting. So let's begin by what is the role, who defines it? So it's important to ensure that we are, I say we, the university, the organisation that recruits for the university, which could be one of you, that the professional standards are raised, okay, that you have got all the tools to do the job that you need to do. And that ultimately also protects students and safeguards their student experience, because what often gets forgotten in all of this is the student. The student should be at the centre and at the heart of everything that is being done. So one of the things that I also got feedback on was that there's not enough clarity, and the gentleman already mentioned about the kind of the strategic role and the importance of the strategic role within in-country representation. So how many of you have a written job spec or a role profile that work in country? So at the moment, there's one person in this room that of 7 that said they're in country reps that have a written profile. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone else, it's quite loose. So of those colleagues again that represent universities, were there any specific qualifications you needed to be an in-country rep? No? Okay. And when you are engaging with other university reps or agents or students or families, have you got any kind of script in terms of checklist, in terms of what you will be speaking about? Which university do you represent, lady there? Yes. Okay, so you have said yes to everything, which is brilliant. Okay.
Something that probably comes with experience also.
Mm-hmm.
There are, when you talk about checklists or check boxes, there are certain amount of things that you want to do when you're meeting in-country representatives
Yes.
from other universities. So
Yeah.
I believe at UEL, we do have certain agendas that we are setting straight. It's not about meeting your colleagues from other universities and just gossiping or just, chit-chatting or knowing what is there. So we do have a set rule of, but not a script. Agenda is something that I would put it out there for you.
Okay, and my comment, and thank you for elaborating, and that's what we need, the kind of context. My comment about engaging with other universities is so much, if you're representing UK universities, for example, even though I can speak about Australian and Canadian, there are so many regulatory changes as there are in Canada. So it's always useful to have that conversation and understanding of the new legislation, whether that be the new international education strategy in the UK or whether that might be the changes that are currently being made in Australia in regards to agents. So I understand that. So in terms of the job description, that hasn't most certainly evolved since universities have been recruiting in country. And there also is some overlap. And I personally get a bit confused about what is the in-country rep's role? What is the agent's role? What is the role of the university that the student might be in at the moment? So not, again, picking back on you, lovely lady at University of East London, but how does your role differ from an agent and differ from, let's say, the career service at the university that the student's at? Where where are the grey areas, and how do you engage, and others, how do you engage with agents? Is that part of your job spec to engage? Because the universities also go out and engage with agents. Could she have a mic, please?
I would say I think our roles are very well defined within the university. So for us, for in-country representations, what my job differs is we are the ones who handle the agents. We are supporting the agents. We're like the bridge between our departments at the university and the agents. Anything that goes from either admission side or the compliance side, or whether it is the student support. Even when we talk about the careers, so we train our agents to make sure that they are guiding the students in the right way, and of course, where they stand at a halt or where they have a limitation to what they can explain to them is where we come into the picture. We are trained regularly by the university staff and additionally by our colleagues who are in this different departments so that we can pass on the right message without mixing or, like you said, the gray areas where we do not let the students be in the gray areas is what we do. And as for the part where you were talking about the career services that our
Mm-hmm,
university provides, these people, the career zone people, they travel to India, the
mm-hmm.
representations travel to India specifically for events like these, where they are able to talk to the companies, they are able to talk to people like, say, here example, Tidco, what we can give or what we can support our students with once they are back or during their period at the university. So
Brilliant.
that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else could kind of elaborate from their perspective at their university where they represent? I'm going to pick on the lovely lady from Portsmouth.
So I agree with Kinjal, whatever she said. So we are the
Okay.
bridge, and as the international team cannot come here all the time, so
Yes.
we are here to do that job where we actually handle the agents and we make sure that we train them as what we have been trained from the university, because all the time the international reps cannot come down here to help. So we are bridging the gap there, and we make sure that even the students are getting all the support while they are here, and also after reaching there, even students reach out to us to inquire or if they have anything to be spoken, and then if they need any kind of support there, so we give them the details or we route them to the place where they have to go, even at the university.
And how often are you engaging with agents
We do that in a daily basis.
on a
So
daily basis?
but
Okay.
when you talk about training and stuff, so
Yes.
that we do it like maybe each quarter. We train the agents.
Agents. Okay. And then obviously, even when we're thinking about agents, some universities are also using agents as a kind of an extension of their in-country staff, or as well as their in-country staff, or some do not have in-country staff and are using agents. How how I'm trying to now also understand better the the kind of information the agent might already have because they're dealing with another university, and what the kind of crossover might be there in terms of, is it new information you're giving them? What are you engaging with them on? Because they may already have that information.
So it's not just about the information. So what I feel is the reps, what we are hired by the university directly,
Yes.
are somebody that can have control on few things
Okay.
that the agent would not have it,
Okay.
right? So we have some of us do have the access to rule out offers, and we also
Excellent.
help in cash releasing.
Okay.
So we also help in visas. So all these control the agent cannot have it. Of course, the
Yep.
university would not give it. But
Yep.
we, the reps who are hired from the university,
Yes.
we do have those controls. That's the difference, I
Excellent.
feel.
And the reason I asked that was your role has evolved so much. There is so much that the reps are actually doing on behalf of the universities, which sometimes does not get the acknowledgement
Hmm.
that perhaps it needs, in terms of empowering you, training you, paying you, rewarding you, etc. So that's the point I was trying to get to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome everybody else that's joining. Then, so we've already covered the fact that the role, is quite broad, the scope is quite broad. There's big asks of you reps, and I very much hope you are looked after. That takes me on to the duty of care, and I alluded to this earlier about the student and the student being in the centre and the heart of everything any of us do, whether you're sat here in Chennai, or whether you're sat in Ontario or in London or in Beijing, it's the same. So a large part of also running this session is to raise those professional standards and to provide in-country colleagues with the support that's needed. It's not just about, forgive me for the use of the word, bums on seats. It's a lot more about protecting the student's experience, because really that student experience is in your hands and in the hands of the agents that you're also working alongside. Whilst whilst the universities are obviously paying significant amounts of money to have in-country representation, I really feel that they ultimately bear that responsibility, and that's where the support and the accountability comes in, and the student welfare, the safeguarding experience. Some of you, I know, also handle pre-arrival support. What happens when there's an issue with a student for those colleagues that work in that space? What mechanism is there to report that incident, whether it's related to a CAS or another student safeguarding incident? What's the process? Is there a process? Sir, can we have a mic for the gentleman? Thank you.
I think the in-country teams actually add another vertical of support when it comes to you have the global engagements, and then you have the agents, and then in between the bridging is the word that everybody seems to be going with, so I'll also stick with that.
Yeah.
So if we kind of like come in at a speck in the entire picture, in which on one side we could relate to the student and the family culturally, and also like relate to the processes at the university. So when the student is coming in and culturally he makes a last minute effort to like say, oh, I'm coming in today, so who's going to receive me? So we primarily like educate the student to tell him like, well, that's not the way how things are done in the UK, where the part where I work for, and we kind of like orientate him. So that's an extra bit that we do, and we kind of like also relate with the parents in telling them like what to expect and what not. One of the questions that we usually get asked is like, oh, my son is going, should I also get a visa and go drop him and come back? And we keep telling them like, well, culturally, okay, if you're going to do that, you're going to take your son's arrival experience, you're going to cut it by half, because he's going to be like stuck with you, wherein he's not going to make any friends. So that's the sort of like cultural support that we give. And also process wise, I think going back to the training piece that we were talking about, all of us have been at the university that we work for. We've been like at our conferences, we've been done our training sessions, so we know what the student advisory services are, what the career support services are. So we've heard their pitch. We've heard the process that they run. So we give first-hand information about that to the student. Of course, a lot of universities, including mine, we also do agent familiarization trips.
Yes.
But then like our trips are much more frequent, and we also have in-country teams or the home teams trainers and all that. So the quality of information and the quality of support is much higher. I'm not saying that it's not there, but the agents do give them. But where the agent kind of like can dilute, we kind of like come in with a big concentration on that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to hear. Thank you. But I know each university is not the same, or each rep does not perform in that same manner. Thank you. That's really helpful. So the it's really important that there is an acknowledgement also of any information gaps there are, and especially those of you that are working in markets where, granted, Germany's not there, but Germany will get there, where there is increased regulation, and it's quite complex navigating that compliance space. And then there's always these Chinese whispers that when the UK government, for example, makes a change to requirements. So it's really important the role that the in-country rep plays in terms of ensuring that information is correctly articulated to the right individuals. So in terms of how can students protect themselves? Has anyone thought in terms of any students that may have been provided misinformation about organisations that are suggesting they represent a university? Have you come across that, where they think that an individual is representing a university, but they're not. Have you? Someone's mentioned. A couple of universities have mentioned this. Have you come across that? No. Okay. So again, it's just ensuring that the student and their families do the essential checks as well, ensuring that the person that is representing the university is associated with the university, whether that's through the email address, whether that's looking at the university website, because some universities, whether that be in Canada or the UK, do list their in-country colleagues on the website. And then there's that whole guarantee of things that don't exist, like we'll guarantee you a job, we'll guarantee you this. So all of these things students should be aware of in advance. So I think we should also look at the kind of career progression piece, which I'm sure all of you are quite interested in. How many of you have been in your roles for more than 5 years? Okay, and with the current university, or yeah, okay, excellent. So well, I understand that university reps want to advance, but also want to be equally recognised. And we've spoken a bit about training. I also want to really have a discussion about really who should be running this training. Should it come from the university, or should it come from your HR or organisations that have recruited you on behalf of the university? But that's without me knowing if the university has recruited you directly or you've come through a third party. So anyone that's come through a third party that's here, um, where should that responsibility of training lie? Should it be in your case, should it be the University of Portsmouth, or should it be or a bit of both?
No, about the product, of course, it should be from the university.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be from the HR. So when it comes to my job, yes, of course, I'll be trained by my HR about what I have to do and what not.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to university as a product and also about the education, higher education and everything, it has to come from the university.
Okay. And do you think the balance of the training that you need to do your job and about the product, there's a good balance, or could more be done?
See, as I've been in the industry and I've been working since I think now 9, 10 years, so I think how to do the job, that training in the initial stage, what I get from the HR is enough, I think, as per the company norms. But then about the product, I have to be updated every day. So that has to come regularly from the university, yes.
And do you, not picking on the university you represent, and this will verify what I've heard, is there enough? Is that too much? Is that overwhelming?
No, I don't think so. It's not overwhelming, but we are getting trained, yes. And that's enough, I feel. And then, but again, it's not everything you learn from the training. It's also from what we do, these kind of events, and then the networking, what we do, and we learn a lot of things from that as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah. So from the conversations I've most certainly had privately as well with colleagues that are not here, is that there is a high turnover. There's a high churn of colleagues that are working in this space, which is a shame. But I wanted to really get to kind of get under the bonnet and really understand what is it, why are they moving so much? And there's a couple of things that came out: possible burnout, low pay, wanting to move somewhere else for more pay. So I understand in-country reps for New Zealand pay a bit more than the UK and Canada. Unclear progression. So again, just wanting to understand, do you have a progression plan? Is that the way it works with in-country reps, or do you just continue to do the job that you've done for the next 5 years or 2 years? Anyone want to? Yes.
More members in your team. So one thing could be that you have more members in your team, so you have more managerial responsibilities.
Okay.
You go
Yep.
deeper into the market.
Yes.
You expand your reach into the market,
Yes.
and the other could be that your region is expanded as well.
Okay.
So there could be both kinds of growth for somebody who is a in-country rep. Yeah.
Okay, so that really, thank you for that. So that really is dependent on the university that you work for in terms of, yeah, but that opportunity is available, but it changes from university to university. Okay, thank you. So when I was also asked to look into this, I was also thinking of those universities that do have the capacity to build those teams and the ability. It was really looking also because the whole system has evolved from just having someone doing a bit of engagement and and sharing market intel to a very different model now. It's that whole staff investment piece v profit. So that can also be a bit of a challenge when we're thinking about investment and career progression and rewarding in-country reps. And I know that's continuously on universities' minds. So other ways that one can help with retention, things that came to kind of mind, having spoken with those that work in the area, is performance bonuses. And again, not prying. You can just put your hands up. But do you get those that work in-country rep positions? Do you get performance bonuses? Okay, because I know university on the whole, and by the way, I spoke to 15 in-country rep staff. They didn't get performance bonuses. So those of you that do, you're very lucky. Those of you who don't, ask for them. They exist. Um, I think the other one is clear career paths. I think the gentleman very clearly articulated, depending on also the university, that there is that. But you can ask. You can ask what is the next step, but obviously it's going to be very much on based on results. The other thing is regular feedback surveys and rep forums, and what I mean by that is also how often are you getting feedback on your performance from the university that represents you. And that could, and the forums I mean could be agent feedback on you, could be peer feedback on you. Does that exist with anyone here? Yeah, that's good, because that's what I heard from my 15 as well. The other is the training roadmap. I understand you've got the product training. I understand that you've got the HR element, but how many of your HR colleagues have worked in this industry? How many of your HR colleagues understand this international recruitment engagement piece? So I would also urge you to build your own training roadmap and present it to the university, because ultimately you also hold that responsibility. We also before talking about kind of brand and defining your brand and other things, I also wanted to just kind of take a moment to go back to that whole definition of an in-country rep. So I know with some of the universities, particularly the ones I spoke to, the colleagues from the UK or Canada, US less so, but Australia are also working with the engagement teams. It's in the UK, it's not just the recruitment teams. How many of you are just working with the recruitment teams? Or are you working with other departments? You're just working with the recruitment. Okay. Is there a reason why you're not working, or you've just not been asked to work with the engagement teams or any other teams in the university? No? Any of the UK universities want to speak about any engagement that they've had where they're not wearing recruitment hats and they engage? Yes? Mike, please. Yeah.
I think most of us do work across departments. So if you say global engagements, partnerships, recruitment, alumni,
Yes.
and then careers office. So it's more or less like rounded, but the main focus might be on like recruitment,
Mm-hmm.
but also like all of these things come into the picture because once you start off, one of the other things that add to whatever my colleague here said, progression also works out in this way. So we
Yes.
liaise with the alumni. So our career progression is also like that, and then we also like move into the faculties. Okay, to a certain extent, when the faculties come out, we interact with them. So we get a deeper know-how of like what's happening within the faculty, so that we could connect them to appropriate Indian institutions
Yes.
here,
Yes.
or like so that they could work on joint research and all that. So I think like our roles like pretty much are all across, not just with recruitment alone.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Yep.
Lady.
Yeah, I would just like to add on a few points what Noel has already mentioned.
Thank
So
you.
it's I don't think recruitment is just a single facet that we are talking about. It has got multiple faces.
Yes.
So the whole point of university is not bringing in a lot of money, but also value
Yep.
to the students and to the university as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
When we expect the students to get the most, we expect from the students
Yes.
because it is through them we get like word of mouth or anything you can add.
Yes.
So, yes, we do have to play different roles. It's not just recruitment, maybe with the compliance, because compliance is a new thing that is attached to all the
Yep.
universities these days. So, it is bringing in quality, value. So, we play a major role in that. So, it's not just limited to one thing,
Mhm.
pretty much to everything.
Excellent. Thank you. Remind me which university you're representing?
De Montfort
That's
University.
it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm going to pick on one of my UK colleagues, if he's still there. I can see him. To comment. Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, so Mark Ertline, City St George's, University of London. It's really interesting to understand the kind of expanded role of in-country representatives. So obviously, traditionally recruitment in a kind of direct recruitment way, but now looking at partnerships, international schools, but then looking at other kind of value-added areas like market insights. But I guess increasingly, particularly with India, kind of looking at the employability agenda and thinking about what students do once they graduate. So it's great to hear that's happening. I guess I'm trying to understand how that works in practice, because my sense with my own experiences, representatives are generally sat or reporting into recruitment teams.
Mhm.
So how they, and it's great that you're interacting with other colleagues, but in terms of, for example, line management, in terms of KPIs, um, how you ensure that your role is covering those broader set of agendas. So yeah, I'd be interested to understand that. I mean, I'd say I do think that kind of looking at the kind of the whole kind of student life cycle will become increasingly important. But knowing how universities work in a very, or can be very siloed, how you ensure that you are. I mean, we talked about training first of all, and obviously the compliance piece as well. So thinking about the visa compliance team. So understand you have the tools to be able to do what you need to do, but if you've got such a broad range of KPIs, and potential people that you're reporting into, how you manage that in practice. So yeah, just interested to understand that a bit more.
Brilliant. Thank you. Anyone? Any thoughts for Mark? Yes. Please. Yeah.
Um, the question that you asked, I believe that the role of an in-country representative has evolved, like we discussed previously, and the representatives are not just sticking to recruitment; they are being involved in a lot of discussions that are taking place at the university at different levels. So whether it is about TNE partnerships or whether it is about the different KPIs that are involved towards the development of the university, not just sticking to the number of students you're bringing to the university. It also involves different phases and different values in which we see ourselves going out into the market, being a part of discussions which uh, is not under the so-called banner of recruitment. Like, for example, whether it is compliance. The compliance, whenever we have meetings related to compliance, it's not just only about what are the do's and don'ts of compliance. It's also about going out there, finding out, talking to people about what is the impact of the current compliance
Mm-hmm.
rules on the students.
Mm-hmm.
So I think over the years they have tied up all these different banners to each other, which has come to us. And because of our involvement, which has grown within the university, we are involved in different discussions, we are involved in different summits, we are invited there to talk to them and understand what they require. Like how Noel mentioned that when the faculty comes down, now certain universities function in a way where the faculty or the schools are responsible for the budgets within the schools. So they have the opportunity to come and discuss with us as to what they are looking at. And because we are on ground, because we are continuously meeting newer people, newer
Mm-hmm.
universities, newer in-country staff,
Mm-hmm.
we are aware as to what is the need of the hour and what is it that we can do which will be
Yes.
different from recruitment, which can support them. For example, your TNE partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I would suggest that we're a part of it. Thank you.
That goes back to my point. You do a lot. You probably don't realize that you do support the university in so many ways.
Yeah,
Mark.
so I guess my question is how that's formalized in terms of, so say, I mean, my experience is that normally representatives are reporting into the recruitment team. So it sounds like you may have almost dotted lines into different teams, but ultimately someone needs to set your objectives, normally an individual person or an individual team, um, and your objectives could sit across 3 or 4 different, so it could be the careers team, it could be the compliance team, it could be the partnerships team. So how do you formalize, so these are my priorities for this year? And also, there may be workload issues where you're having to prioritize how then ultimately, you negotiate with the university, well, this is what I'm going to focus on because there's only so many hours in a day. And if you're getting pulled in different directions, so that those are the kind of, I guess, the dynamics I'm trying to. So obviously, you'd normally, if you're managing somebody, you'd set them. These are your objectives for the year, and you have ongoing, one-to-one meetings, and you kind of, you see how things, you evaluate how things are going. In your case, it seems like potentially, you've got 3 or 4 different masters you're trying to respond to, and how you manage that potential tension.
I think that is something that comes with the size of the teams. We do so here. This is what I'm talking about. My experience with University of East London is we have a team which focuses solely on recruitment. So when and there is a hierarchy in place just for the act of managing so many different roles. So we have on-ground staff who will manage the recruitment aspect of it, report into us. We are going to collate that data along with the asks from the university, and that's how we manage it. We divide this between the team so that not one person is under too much of pressure to finally do one thing at all. But in terms of the role, I would say uh, we have junior staff who manages recruitment, who are trained just to speak to students and agents. Then we have mid-level teams who are managing the agent partners and the senior management. And then we have the senior management who makes time for all these different aspects, which ultimately will result in benefiting the university.
Okay, so it varies. Thank you so much for your comments, and Mark. It varies from institution to institution. It goes back to that investment. How much is a university prepared to invest as well in terms of those services? So let's move on to thinking about how you define. I'm also conscious that not as many in-country rep colleagues are here, but we also did make a promise about how you define your brand, how you can raise your profile. So I guess it's also looking, thinking back at some of the things you have said in terms of your unique value. What is your unique value? Excuse me, in terms of your local market insights, you managing other teams, the success stories, the recruitment stories. How often are you kind of gathering those? How often are you reflecting on the wins and your own personal successes, and trying to kind of use those to present yourselves as not just a university partner, but the impact that you've had on the lives of those individual students who you've helped with their study abroad journey. Um, you probably all use LinkedIn. I don't have shares in LinkedIn, but I would recommend strongly that you use LinkedIn. And again, to position you as a thought leader, some of you have mentioned that you're not just working for the university, you've got the agent relationship, there's partnership relationships. Um, I think that's really very key to get that message across. And then also is what value, going back to that whole value, what value can you bring? What sets you apart at DMU from University of East London? Those colleagues that work across multi-countries is just, again, bringing that to the surface in terms of your expertise. And also the kind of trust element and the guidance is really important. So looking at your creating a LinkedIn profile goes from those that haven't got one. How many of you do not have a LinkedIn profile? Let's look at that rather than me telling you what you need to be doing on LinkedIn. Those of you that do work in the in-country rep area, how many of you do not have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, so how often do you, everyone does, okay. How often are you updating it? What are you putting on there in regards to your brand, your individual values? So you've got the LinkedIn profile, but you're not adding to it, no? Is that right? Okay, do you know, I mean, you'd seem, yes, sir.
So one of the things is whatever outreach we are doing with our partners, we
Yes.
highlight it on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Next could be recruitment of team
Okay,
members
great.
through LinkedIn.
Great.
Third could be potentially also checking what the competition is doing.
Yep. Yep.
So
I was going to come on to that.
yeah,
Yep.
and whatever partners are promoting, like in terms of agents,
Yes.
what countries they're focusing on. So rather than just going to the websites, which is very passive information,
True.
you can go to LinkedIn and see what has happened with their company in the last
Yes.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. What
these are
about you though? What about your brand?
in terms of our brand.
As in your personal brand?
So we do highlight what the LinkedIn channel is sharing from Germany. So that's one of the things. So
Yes.
that helps us to keep us updated. like when is the convocation day, or when a company has come onto campus,
Yes.
or there's a visit
Okay.
by some professor. So we get to know, for it's an updates for us,
Okay.
and then we pass it on to our network as well, which could be our agents, which could be potential students as well. Yeah.
And that's great, by the way. Everything you're doing is great in terms of the profile, because obviously that your employer. I was trying to kind of also get you thinking about your own. Look after yourselves as well. You're doing some amazing work. Showcase it. There's no law against it. Showcase your wins. Use your student success stories. And it's a good reminder of what you're actually achieving for the institution. So that's where I was going with that kind of personal brand and defining your own brand, and possibly unlocking opportunities for yourselves that you would not have known existed, but also again positioning you more than just that in-country rep, because you are more than just that in-country rep. So again, it goes from the photo that you have up there about what you're doing, your experience as well, and the content, and yes, content about the university, sourcing it as sourcing information about what competitors are doing, what's happening in industry. That's all really valuable and really helpful, and for networking as well. But also think about stories that you can post that will aid growth and also allow you to ask for that career progression that may not be as obvious as well. Um, the other area that I want to go to before we kind of open for questions is also support and accountability. I think that's really important. And now I am going to pick on someone in the audience to ask from the university perspective what they feel is enough support and who is accountable. And I'm going to pick on the lady who's on her phone right at the back. Don't know her name. On the back table, she's on her phone. That lady. May I ask you a question? Yeah. Are you? I think you put your hand up saying you do represent a university.
I do.
Yeah. Thank you. I wanted to just get some insights from you in terms of to ensure standards are met and professional standards are raised within this space. Um, who is ultimately responsible and accountable for when things go wrong? And your university, how often does it undertake any regular performance reviews of in-country reps or organisations that work with you?
Yeah, we're quite a small university, a
Ah,
health sciences university, so we
okay,
work
fair
mainly
enough.
through agents in country. But we have, I mean, we have regular monthly meetings, so we go through everything every month, just to check internally, externally, through our admissions, through every single kind of metric that we
Excellent.
have, to make sure that we all feel that we're getting what we need. There's a clearly a tension point where they're trying to push in and we're trying to just check, and we're pushing in and we're checking. But I think it's quite a healthy relationship in that way. So from my point of view, that's quite, you know, a strategic thing. My registrar sits in that meeting with them to make
Excellent.
sure that I guess that they're on top of the metrics.
Sorry, which
And our
university
UKVI
did you?
Health Sciences
Oh, health.
University.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're based in
Yeah.
London and Bournemouth.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I think it's a really healthy working relationship.
Excellent.
I'm over here actually to see some partners tomorrow in Mumbai.
Yeah. Excellent. And I guess
So
that's the beauty of when you're working in a smaller institution, that oversight, that greater oversight that's needed
I think,
can be there.
and it's meant we've been able to, I think, scale up, which we have done quite quickly. But I think it's allowed us to make sure our systems are working properly as we scale.
Excellent. Thank you for your insights. And then finally, in terms of oversight, and you just mentioned about kind of scale and what have you, as the teams grow and evolve, there is a lot more oversight that's needed. There's a lot more resource that's needed as well. But ultimately, I still think the buck stops with the university that's recruiting you. They are the ones that should be of accountability. I think we've already touched on training, and training for fairness, not just for you to get more sales or more students. I think standardized information so it's consistent, because from the 15 interviews that I had, it was very inconsistent, the information that was being shared. I'll let you know there isn't any university in this room that I did some mystery shopping on, but I did some mystery shopping last year face to face. And yes, lovely lady from University of East London, you were there, but I didn't come to your counter. But I was quite shocked at the information or lack of information I was given, even though I didn't open my mouth, so they didn't know I was British, in terms of nobody spoke to me about the graduate route. I was pointed, this is Russell Group and non-Russell Group. I was pointed to the website multiple times. I was given a brochure, even though I said I don't want a brochure. So I think there needs to be some more support in that regard. There will be more mystery shopping, hint, hint. And I think the universities also want to support you better. But I think that was a really interesting journey last year. And then my telephone journey was even more interesting in terms of what information I was given. So essentially, we also should, with compliance, which we've touched upon, build a strong documentation culture where whether it's you, whether it's your teams, are logging on conversations about counselling in terms of offers, the information that's been given on compliance, and, and, and this is all for quality checks to ensure that the university is being represented in the manner that it expects to be, and there's no surprises at the end of it. I also agree that reps, colleagues need to be empowered more. And again, that sits with the university in terms of not just more training, but a space where you can have an open discussion about escalating things that you're concerned about, whether it's regarding a student, whether it's regarding an agent. Because you see a different side to our colleagues that represent agencies to what our colleagues that are out of the country see. You are the eyes and ears, so you need to have that safe space where you are able to have those conversations. And again, let's not forget, we need to protect students through transparent choice and consent and that whole duty of care. I'm going to move on really quickly just to look at job descriptions and skills and competencies, because again, it's getting to a place where perhaps we do need to have standardized, and there is talk about this, job descriptions for in-country reps. Again, to ensure there's clarity, there's consistency, there's opportunity for promotion, and also clear KPIs and conversions, and also reducing risks where possible. I really feel it's the university, again, responsibility, and it's in their interest to continue not only to drive more students through yourselves, but also foster academic partnerships, which Mark's spoken about, to ensure that you are very well versed on the regulatory compliance frameworks, but also be able to be involved in articulation agreements, joint programs, and really help beyond just the recruitment. You are strategic partners. And I think that perhaps may get lost in the system as well. Skills competencies, again, there is this whole conversation about, yes, you may have worked at a university and then you go to another university, but what about skills such as communication, negotiation, relationship building skills, cultural sensitivity, especially if you're working in a market where it doesn't matter you've worked with a UK university, you go and work for a New Zealand or a Canadian. It's very different. It's very different. And adaptability. Who is going to pay for that? Who is going to provide that? So that's really important. And then there's the whole data analytics and the commitment to ethical practices, especially when you're making admissions offers, which some of you are on behalf of the university. So there is discussion and speak about that as well. I'm now going to kind of come, before opening for questions, just come to another colleague who I think will do this much more well, will add more value, much more value than what I did, is somebody who's actually been through this journey for a university and has then worked for the university in South India and now in the UK, just to provide like 3 top tips in terms of how the landscape has evolved and how you can do a better job, and that's Shivani. Can she have a mic, please, if there's anyone left? Unless there is anyone else here that has worked as an in-country rep and then gone and worked outside of India.
Thanks, Andy. I think 3 tips probably top of my mind. So when I started the in-country role, that was after graduating from Brunel in my master's. So I'd sort of lived the student journey as well, and it was quite easy to adapt to the in-country role quite naturally because you knew what was coming your way when a student walked up towards you at a desk. I think for me, the first and the most important thing is honesty and integrity. Having started the in country role in 2011, when I think I'm probably looking at Noel, not many of us existed. And I think we were probably, in the UK, I think I want to say we were under 10 that had in country offices. It was Warwick, Leeds, and Brunel was probably the third, and then I think Ulster was there as well. So there was a handful of us. And we were the brand for that university, and not just the university, but the country you were representing locally within that setting in India. So I think honesty and integrity plays a key role because when that, and I think Sandy touched on this, but when a student walks up to you at a fair, they're coming with a lot of questions in their mind, which they may not be able to bring to their tongue. So every conversation you have with a student is different. The last thing you should do is pass a brochure or ask them to visit the website because if they had to do that, they didn't really need to come to the fair. They're speaking to you because they assume you know something that the website will not tell them. And if you don't do that, I feel you're not only I think ruining the experience for the student, but equally you're creating a self-proclaimed concept in the mind of people who are visiting, let's say a mystery shopper, or even an actual parent or a student, that this is just a good job that you get to travel all over the country, stay at nice hotels, wear good clothes, represent a good university overseas. That's not what it is. There's a certain sense of responsibility because these students and their parents are investing hard-earned money to be able to send their kids overseas for their education. And we are the face of that, or the first step of that, in their home country, which is the most comfortable conversation they can probably have. I remember my first fair in Chennai in 2011, and I don't speak Tamil, I'm from the north. And there were a bunch of parents who just wanted to speak in Tamil. So I went to the fair organizer, I grabbed a counselor, and I said, I'm going to say everything I can in English. Can you translate it for them in Tamil? But I didn't do that for the student because for the student, I said, you've got to go to the UK, so you've got to speak in English. And I think it's just that honesty and integrity will naturally come to you when you truly love your job and you truly love this experience. The second thing, please don't think you can't be bigger than what you are right now, not only in terms of your role, your experience, but also, I mean, I'll be honest, 2011, when I started this role as an in country rep, I didn't want to be an in country rep. I actually told the university, why would an Indian student want to talk to an Indian? Why wouldn't they want to talk to a typical white, agora face, as we say it? And a lot of them, and in the room, I was like, I don't think anyone's going to talk to me. And the complete opposite happened. They didn't talk to the person who was sort of from the UK, very British, with their accent, but they wanted to talk to me because I had that relatability. So there's a certain weight of responsibility that's carried, but you can give them the best experience in that process. So don't assume that this job is lightweighted. It holds I think extreme pleasure and value even back at the universities that you work for. But when I started in 2011, I never ever in the wildest dream thought that I'll move back to the UK and I'll work at the international office, let alone head the international office. So that was something I never thought of, and I find it that I feel quite naive. I think I should have dreamt that because maybe I'd have got it faster. I don't know, or maybe it happened at the right time. So I think try and ask your universities, no matter which country you are, for opportunities to scale up. I was tempted that Sandy would ask a question: how many of the in-country reps that are here would ever imagine to work at their university in the actual source country? There you go. That's Portsmouth. I think we can make a recommendation to Bobby.
Yes.
But I never thought of that, right? So I think you must, because you never know
Yes.
what's the next opportunity that's knocking on your door. And third, and the most important, is your ethics. Ethics are very hard to find. And having been an in-country rep for 10 years, we do see significant challenges, not only in the quality of the in-country reps, but the passion that they carry with, especially with ethics. It's very easy to get carried away by looking at some people and a handful of them that may not be as ethical as you are. But I think it's your integrity and it's your honesty that will take you. So I don't know. I can speak on this for hours,
I think,
but
yeah.
yeah,
No, I think that's very helpful. Any questions for Shivani, or generally any questions before we wrap up? Yes, please. Thank you, Shivani.
This is the question from student side. I think this is different from what we are discussing here. So what I'm going to ask is, what kind of market representation are you looking for? Are you recruiting fine art students? Yes. What are the qualification you are looking for? Because
Yes.
each university will have their set entry requirements as
Yes.
far as finance goes.
okay.
So if you are looking at a finance program, and I can speak broadly on behalf of the UK, but essentially if you're from either an economics background, an accountancy, or a commerce background, but you need to have maths or statistics in your education with obviously a certain level of a degree grade that you need, and that again depends on which university you're studying in within India.
Okay.
So there would be a certain requirement from Mount Carmel College versus Loyola versus, another private university in Chennai. So it really depends. But some of us are here. So if you want to have
Yeah.
a chat, I believe there's University of Portsmouth, there's East London, there's Brunel, there's Ulster,
BNU.
there's a bunch of us.
Yeah.
So you can ask us depending on the exact
So
course that you want to
basically, I'm
study.
looking for the visual arts and music like that. Are you recruiting that students also?
Yes, yes. I'm sure some of us have those programs.
Okay.
So these are obviously specific to specific universities, but yeah, you should be able to.
Because more of them here is discussing about the engineering and industries like that. So we want to know that we few of them here for visual arts and music. So we have to know that you are recruiting those students or looking for them or what.
Yeah, is there anyone in the room who specializes in music? We don't specialize in music, so I'll feel odd to give advice.
So he's from
City.
music and I'm
City
from
as well. We
visual
forgot.
art.
City?
St George's City. Yeah. Yeah. But
Okay,
yeah.
okay. But there'll be a few universities around the day today and tomorrow that will offer music. You're right. The obvious choice is always engineering, but isn't that the fault of the Indian parent mindset? Be an engineer and a doctor, and that's it. Your life is made. But we do see the world changing post-COVID.
Yeah.
And we do see that some of these industries have evolved dramatically in the last 5 years. So there are great programs in the UK. Of course, there's specialists for there's a University of Arts London, which is world known for visual arts, but
Yes.
equally for music, for drama. So there's lots of options in the UK, but even widely over Europe as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I've been told I've got to bring this to a close. All I want to say is please remember all of the amazing work that you're doing. Capture that work, raise your brand awareness, create your brand, and ask about career progression. And remember, at the heart of everything you do, the student, the kind of ethical way in which students need to be recruited, and the support that you need. If you don't ask, you won't get it. But and also watch out for the mystery shopping. Thank you so much.
Sir, after finishing the lunch, go to the first floor. After finishing the lunch, go to first floor, the auditorium. Okay, sure. In left side, they're providing lunch. Sorry?
Till what time lunch is available?
More than